Yeah, what's all the hoopla going on over there?
Two geniuses climbed to the top of the Empire State Building, the top of the spire.
Oh, that's awesome. It's a little hot for that, isn't it?
It's just the beginning of this week.
It's not some worker changing a light, is it?
Nah, it's a male, female, dressed in black. They had some flag they were waving when they were up at the top. And he just proposed to her.
Stand up. Oh, I love it. Don't you love it? Wasn't that great? Hello and welcome to today's episode of Stand Up, where I am joined by the great David Rothkopf. Sorry, I did not get this up this morning. Major catastrophic failure, technically, but I do have it for you today, and this will serve as the episode for Thursday and Friday. Watch me live at 11, 12, and 1 on Substack at Stand Up with Pete on Friday, live with Alison Jaslow, Amanda Nelson, and Dr. Jason Johnson, and I will catch up around 1. Right now, I've got your headlines and your clips before. I'm going to post this before the hangout, before we all melt. It has been ridiculous out. I hope that you are surviving, hanging in there in all of the ways. I'm very happy to have you here joining me. Lots to get to, and just want to mention that you should subscribe to me on Substack at Stand Up with Pete. You can do a free subscription. You can do a paid subscription. You can always pay and stay paying on Patreon. Not asking you to leave, but Substack is the place to be discovered and to grow. Most of you joined me from SiriusXM and have stayed with me, and I'm so grateful for your support. But believe it or not, new people do find me, the work, the show, the community all the time, and the best place to do that is on Substack. Please go subscribe for free or get a paid subscription at Stand Up with Pete, and you will get notified when I go live. So check that out. Please do that today if you haven't already. Thank you. And now let's get to your headlines, and then I got a great clip show for you coming up. But let's start with the Russian attack that killed at least 25 and injured scores more in Kiev in Ukraine, after Zelensky warned of a massive strike. He had earlier warned that intelligence reports showed an overnight attack on the country was likely, and it was. It was terrible. The attack with ballistic and cruise missiles and drones damaged buildings and civilian infrastructure across the country. Residents taking shelter in metro stations after Ukrainian president and other authorities issued first warnings of the attack. Wow. Yet it seems from a lot of analysis, Ukrainians still have the upper hand in Crimea and other parts of the country. We'll be talking about that more soon, but always paying attention to that conflict as momentum has changed dramatically in the 4-year-old war. By the way, a new study found that more than 2 million Russian and Ukrainian troops have been killed or wounded since Russia invaded 4 years ago. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, which uses data from American and British governments, because both Ukraine and Russia are known to shield their true casualty counts, the study found that Russia, which sent many more troops to the battlefield, has borne the heavier toll. Ukraine has suffered 125 to 150,000 deaths, while 450,000 Russian troops have likely been killed, roughly 4 times the number of U.S. fatalities in all conflicts combined since World War II. So an update on the conflict there. Wanted to mention that. A heat dome or a heat wave is taking control of the United States, breaking all kinds of records and causing all kinds of problems and conflicts for people. Obviously, in New York City, the mayor, Mamdani, asked everybody to set their thermostat at 78 degrees, which is a pretty standard thing for a leader to do so that you can save the energy grid for everybody. And right-wing conservatives went nuts about it, even though they themselves, from the South Carolina governor Nikki Haley to the federal government themselves, have made similar suggestions forever. And I'll bring you a cool clip from a content creator who breaks that down for us coming up in the clip show. Almost 2,300 people now confirmed to have died in the earthquakes which hit Venezuela on June 24th. Tens of thousands are still missing. A man was rescued alive after being trapped for 8 days in the rubble of a building that collapsed after twin earthquakes in Venezuela. And so we're looking for the helpers and finding hope wherever we can. Let's go to the Strait of Hormuz, where Iran's Joint Military Command warned yesterday that all oil tankers moving through the Strait of Hormuz must use its approved routes or face a forceful response. Again, ratcheting up tensions over a waterway crucial for international energy supplies. It wasn't immediately clear what sparked this most recent threat from Iran, but U.S. military Central Command had put out a statement about having a meeting with officials from Mideast nations in Bahrain that said that leaders underscored their shared commitment to free the flow of commerce through the Strait of Hormuz. All right, let's come back here at home where on Wednesday, a federal judge in Washington blocked the United States Postal Service from carrying out changes to its delivery of mail-in ballots, writing that recent policies directed by President Trump ran afoul of legal terms that agency accepted more than 4 years ago to ensure timely delivery of mail-in ballots. That's the right call, that this judge has blocked the Postal Service from imposing these restrictions on mail-in ballots, and that's good news. We call that good news. More scandals from FBI Director Kash Patel, who apparently failed to properly disclose a six-figure purchase of a stock in a Bitcoin-fueled business intelligence and mobile software company that has contracted with the Department of Justice, according to federal financial records reviewed by the Notice media outlet. And speaking of misappropriated resources in the FBI, well, guess what? They're assigning 260 investigators to examine election records from Fulton County, Georgia from 2020. That's what they're having FBI agents do. 260 of them. Really? Look into the past, into a thing that never happened, a crime that never happened. Now that's where their precious resources of the Federal Bureau of Investigation are going. Great. You've heard about how much money that our commander-in-chief made. Well, J.D. Vance and Melania Trump had sharp earnings increases last year, according to financial disclosures as well. The vice president earned between $1.4 million and $7.4 million. The first lady earned between roughly $17 and $18 million. So they're enriching themselves, no doubt. Tucker Carlson is going to start a new political party. He has no interest in running for office, apparently, but that should be interesting to watch him fail. And a busy weekend. It's the 4th of July, and it's not any 4th of July. The country's 250th birthday. Yay, we did it. Is it our last one? Is there going to be more? Well, it's going to be pretty hot. Around 100 degrees in New York, Washington, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Atlanta. 163 million people from Missouri to Maine to South Mississippi live in areas that will experience extreme danger, heat danger, for many lasting till Sunday. So be careful out there, and fireworks suck. Just your reminder. Fireworks for this year's July 4th celebration are expected to cause hazardous levels of pollution around the National Mall and very unhealthy conditions in central D.C., according to National Park Service documents reviewed by the Washington Post. Park Service, in a separate document, similarly said that people should wear N95 masks when outdoors and remain indoors as much as possible during and after the show. Well, that's worth it, right? I'm sure that'll be worth it. Well, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are poised to pull it off. They invited around 100 people to their rehearsal dinner at Madison Square Garden, and they're getting married in Manhattan over the 4th of July weekend. And a lot of people are pissed about that, but apparently they gave like $20 million away or more to a whole bunch of great charities. So, well, that's pretty good PR if you ask me. Worth it if you ask me. America beat Bosnia in the World Cup. I'm sure you watched that. Unfortunately, we got a undeserved red card for one of the star players, but they look so good and it's so fun to watch them and cheer them on. Although David Rothkopf apparently was cheering for Bosnia. He'll talk to us about that coming up in our interview with him. And finally, a good news story. I love this. A small town in Quebec, Canada, carved out of the forest about 75 years ago, but recently trees had no rights. Well, guess what? They've adopted a new resolution to protect trees, which its mayor called indispensable allies, as living beings. The town of about 2,000, just west of Montreal, is the first governing body to adopt the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Trees, according to the Global Environment Law Tracker Eco Jurisprudence Monitor. I love this story. The resolution recognizes that trees as living beings have the right to exist, thrive, and receive protections in the law. This is exactly what we need. Lobbyists and activists that protect the critters and creatures and plants that we all need to survive and who all deserve to survive. All right. Well, that's it. That's all I've got for you in the headlines. Let's get to that clip show. Let's start with Congressman Ro Khanna of California. He's a 49-year-old congressman. He's one of the leading lights in the progressive movement. And yesterday he made this video I wanted to share a clip from, where he pointed to Tuesday night's primary results in Colorado, where 29-year-old Democratic Socialist defeated 15-term incumbent in a stunning upset. And I just thought I would share this because I thought it was good.
Yesterday was a big night for progressives. Colorado shows a new generation of progressives like Millat are building a new and bold Democratic Party. It's time for the old guard to step aside. A lot of people are asking me what I make of these progressive wins. I say the era of cliches that politicians deliver with charisma and charm is over. This is a time for courage. Voters want to know where you stand on the tough issues, and whether you will fight for real change in our unfair and lopsided economic and political system. Are you for single-payer health care? For taxing the wealth of billionaires? For stopping these foreign wars? For recognizing the genocide in Gaza? For abolishing and replacing ICE? For workers over AI? For money out of politics? This is not an age for triangulation or obfuscation. We're in a moment of transformational change in this country, and I'm calling on our party to listen to voters' demand.
There you go, calling on the party to listen to voters. Time to step aside if you're part of the old guard. And here's one of the winners from Tuesday night. It's Malat Kirosko, who won the Democratic primary for Colorado's 1st District in Denver. She was on Chris Hayes on, 2 nights ago on MS Now, All In.
It's not the Congresswoman herself. It's the campaign finance system that has incentivized members of Congress like Diana DeGette to take millions of dollars from big pharma, big energy and oil, defense contractors. At the end of the day, the reason why we are not seeing legislation like Medicare for All and universal child care and an arms embargo on Israel pass, despite a super majority of support from the voters of this party, is because when corporations and special interests donate to campaigns, it's not that they're going to get an immediate return with legislation that is favored for them. Sometimes the return that they get is stalling on legislation that would actually make a meaningful difference for families. And so at the end of the day, the only way we can trust that the Congress members are actually fighting for that kind of legislation is to not be taking money from the very corporations and special interests that do not want to see that kind of legislation from passing. In fact, the National Nurses United Policy Director said as much about the Congresswoman's co-sponsorship of Medicare for All while also taking money from the very health insurance companies that would be legislated out of existence. We can't trust that that kind of donations coming in for Congress members isn't going to result in some kind of return. And sometimes that return is that we're not actually going to get anything done.
There she is, Malat Kiros. I said Kirosko. Malat Kiros is her name, and everybody's going to know her name pretty soon. And here is another candidate who is up for runoff of the L.A. mayor race, running as a DSA candidate. She was on CNN. Her name is Nivea Rahman. I believe I pronounced it correctly, but here it is.
Choose to be a democratic socialist and to be a part of you. Choose to be a democratic socialist and to be a part of that. Why? Why a democratic socialist and not just a regular Democrat?
You know, here in Los Angeles, the DSA was the only place where people were really talking about tenants' rights and renters' rights in the context of a political movement. And in my work on city council, I have delivered for residents across the city who are renters. We have passed the strongest suite of tenant protections in 40 years in the city. And that perspective was something that the Democratic Party many of the people in the Democratic Party simply didn't have. I think also what we've seen here in Los Angeles is that so much of what defines establishment politics has been pay to play. Airbnb gives a donation to a powerful political figure, as they did to Mayor Bass, and new legislation comes up that takes precious housing units off the market as part of her budget. That's the kind of pay to play politics that has defined the Democratic Party in so many ways, establishment politics here. And I think Angelinos are ready for something new, and that's what I want to deliver for them.
Well, that's what I want to deliver for you, is those clips of those DSA candidates, a couple of good ones. Now let's change gears a little bit. It's Jack Smith, the former special investigator. He made an exclusive, his first interview ever on MS Now yesterday with Nicole Wallace. Here's a clip of what it sounded like, but I definitely suggest watching the whole interview.
Career prosecutor. I worked in the Justice. Well, you know, I was a career prosecutor. I worked in the Justice Department and other prosecutors' offices for near on 30 years. And I don't know if your viewers know this, but I worked in Republican and Democratic administrations over and over. I was the acting U.S. attorney in the first Trump administration in Nashville, Tennessee. And that administration appointed me to a position running a war crimes tribunal for the State Department. So I have investigated cases focusing on the facts and the law throughout my career. We did this case the same way, under the same standards. And, you know, the thing that's, I think, important for your viewers to know is those standards are not meant to change from one administration to the next. And in my experience, until now, they haven't. And so, you know, I think we are facing an attack on the rule of law that is different in kind and scope to anything I've seen in my lifetime. And one of the reasons I wanted to be with you here today, in advance of the 4th of July, celebrating the birth of a country that we all love, is to celebrate the public servants who do this work, the people I spent my career working shoulder to shoulder with. I loved being a prosecutor, and part of it was I loved being around these sort of people. And it angers me to see them victimized, to see them demonized for doing their jobs. I think it's really important that we stand up for them and let them know that there are a lot of people out there who back them and who are with them. And that's not just the people who've been targeted and fired for no reason for doing their jobs. It's also the people still in the Justice Department today. There are a lot of good career prosecutors who right now are working under incredibly difficult circumstances, and they're still trying to do the right thing. And these are not self-promoters. These are not people who are going to go out and, crow about their achievements. We need to hold them up and celebrate them because they're part of what makes this country great.
Yes, indeed. Jack Smith, good stuff. Now let's go to the governor of Illinois and a possible presidential contender for 2028. It's J.B. Pritzker.
Has turned 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue from the People's House to a nut house, where he's retreated to the last and only respite of the desperate and the damned, paranoid self-delusion. Now, I know we Democrats are having a conversation right now about how much we should talk about Donald Trump. Trust me, I'm just as tired as you all are of having this man in our lives, seemingly every minute of every day. But I don't think that we can offer a solution for the future unless we fully and honestly confront what he is doing to this country right now. Because like it or not, Donald Trump is a reflecting pool of our politics. You can paint the bottom blue, but it won't conceal the polluted water above.
Good stuff from J.B. Pritzker. Now let's take a little deep dive into this new right-wing panic around something they're calling birth tourism. And they want to ban pregnant women from coming to America and giving birth. The Bulwark's Brendan Hartnett looked into the numbers to debunk it. I thought this was definitely worth sharing.
Are you pregnant? Then don't come to America. In the aftermath of the Supreme Court upholding birthright citizenship earlier this week, you might have heard about a new threat that the right wing is losing their minds about: birth tourism.
The Supreme Court just codified the anchor baby and birth tourism industries.
Birth tourism. People come here just to have babies on American soil, and that baby gets to be a citizen for life.
So in light of the administration's loss at the Supreme Court, they have a new priority: keeping pregos out of America.
From a Department of Justice standpoint, it's obviously focusing our prosecutors and our law enforcement partners on birthing tourism. What we have to do as the Department of Justice is make sure our agents, our HSI agents that we work with and the FBI are focused on stopping that. And that's what we're going to do.
Okay. Well, how big of a problem is this anyways? That's exactly what Chief Justice Roberts asked the plaintiff in the birthright citizenship case.
You mentioned in your briefing and also this morning the problem of birth tourism. Do you have any information about how common that is or how significant a problem it is?
It's a great question. No one knows for sure.
Estimates range but are low. At the high end, a 2020 study from the Conservative Center for Immigration Studies, a group that wants to restrict immigration into the United States, estimated that there were between 20,000 and 26,000 possible cases of birth tourism to the U.S. every year. That would be less than 0.75% of all babies born in the U.S. in the year 2025. The CDC's natality report, published in May 2026 under the leadership of RFK Jr. and the Trump administration, found that there were 9,502 cases of babies born to foreign residents in the U.S. in the year 2024. That's just 0.26% of the whopping 3.63 million babies born in the U.S. that year. So while there are cases of babies born in the U.S. to foreign residents, including some that might actually be real instances of birth tourism, it certainly doesn't seem like a real issue or one worth freaking out about. Now, I don't know about you, but the last thing that I feel like doing after a long international flight back to the U.S. is waiting for every woman on my flight to get an ultrasound before we can go through customs. Katie Miller is cognizant of this, telling our own Sam Stein that the solution might just be having every woman pee on a stick before entering the country. So there you have it. Birth tourism is not a real thing or one worth freaking out about, and this is the latest incident of the right wing losing their mind about something that doesn't seem real. Now be sure to like this video and subscribe to The Bulwark for more content like this.
There you go. I left on the like and subscribe because, hey, want to give them credit. That's a good report. Brendan Hartnett is his name. This is also some pretty good content because yesterday, I mentioned this earlier, they're freaking out because Mayor Mamdani asked New Yorkers to set their thermostat to 78. Well, that's not a radical thing, and Republican leaders have been doing it for years, including the current federal government led by, yeah, that's right, Hippopotamus.
A historic heat wave. I promise you are going to want to see what I found. They are trying to cover their tracks, and it's about this.
Please set your thermostats to 78 degrees to alleviate the stress on our power grid.
Show us your thermostat, Connie.
Exactly.
And that's what we all want to see. Show us the proof, buddy.
Yeah, go ahead and show me what your thermostat is, Mayor Mamdani.
New York is bracing for a historic heat wave, and to make preparations and to alleviate the stress on the power grid, Mamdani asked people to set their thermostats a little bit higher. Republicans like Nikki Haley have done this, but that won't stop her from saying, "Welcome to socialism," even though this is happening in a capitalist economy. But it gets deeper. The U.S. Department of Energy had a page on its site telling people to set their thermostat between 75 and 78 in the summer. That page disappeared within the past 2 weeks. In Texas, in 2021, when they had a heat wave, their power grid company was telling people to set their thermostat to 78 degrees. That page is now missing. The Department of Energy had another energy-saving tips page on its site that was live as recent as yesterday. Now, page not found. And this was policy under the first Trump administration. Now that Mamdani is offering the exact same guidance, now it's socialism. Now you have to oppose it. They are actively trying to erase everything they can from the internet, like this page on programmable thermostats, which again offers the same guidance, was live yesterday, now it's gone. But I found one they haven't deleted yet, and it's this one. 11 things you didn't know about saving energy at home. Number 8, setting your thermostat to 78 degrees. How long until this one disappears?
It's communism. It's socialism to ask people to conserve energy. It's a terrible thing to do. It's a terrible thing to ask people to make the tiniest sacrifice for each other. Yeah, wear a mask, set the temperature a little bit higher. Yeah, forget it. No, I'm an American. I'll do whatever the hell I want, and no one can tell me what to do. Such hypocritical losers. Totally unsurprised. And great work from a guy named Jordan Ull, who I follow on Threads. Okay. Now let's get a little history lesson before July 4th from Nicole Hannah-Jones, the author of the 1619 Project, award-winning author, journalist, professor. Here she is.
Black Americans know how fragile democracy is because we've only known it for 60 years. So again, when this administration is enacting these very regressive policies that they are enacting now, right? The greatest decimation of civil rights in a century. That's what we're at the cusp of. There's a reason they started with the erasure of our history. That they want to take down the panels to slavery. That they want to remove stories about Medgar Evers. That they want to take down the story of Harriet Tubman. You have to erase that history to render us weak in the face of being able to decipher what they plan to do now. But if you learn that history, then you understand exactly what you're seeing. We were never to be a multiracial democracy. Black Americans, black people were stolen from Africa to be labor. We were not to be citizens. We were not to vote. The very idea of republicanism, now I'm going to get maybe too technical, but I'm very nerdy, y'all. Despite looking so fabulous, I am very nerdy. That the idea of republicanism is really that we don't trust regular people to govern. That it should be a white landed gentry who decides our politics. So if you notice in the last few years, you've seen Republicans who were supposed to be the main patriots, right? Like they had the corner on patriotism, saying we're not a democracy, we're a republic. Now that's a little very subtle shift because most people would say we are a democratic republic. We're both of those things. But what they're actually saying is as our country becomes more diverse, we don't believe in one person, one vote. If we are going to be a country where we are outnumbered by people of color, then we actually want to be a republic where white elite will maintain power, they will decide our politics, and most people will never be able to exercise the franchise. That's where we are. But again, if you haven't learned that history, if you've learned a history that treats our founders as these demigods who were just, okay, they were a little wrong on that slavery thing, but otherwise they had great ideas. It's not a little wrong on the slavery thing. The very concept of freedom among white colonists was because they were enslaving people, and they understood that white freedom was based on black slavery. You could look at George Washington's own words. He says we have to break off from England because they will treat us like we treat our black slaves. Y'all don't have to believe me, just go to the documents.
All right, Nicole Hannah-Jones, good stuff, as always, from her as we head into July 4th. I'm wishing you a safe and fun holiday, and hopefully you don't melt out there and get to relax, see some friends, maybe eat some good food, whatever, celebrate however you want. I'm so happy to have you here with me and joining the Hangouts and the Discord platform. You got any questions about any of it, email me, standupwithpete@gmail.com. All right, let's get to my guest, David Rothkopf. And don't forget to join me tomorrow at 11, 12, and 1. I'll be joined by my friend Alison Jaslow talking about her new Substack. Also going to be joined by the great Amanda Nelson, one of my favorite political commentators, has launched a new podcast. Our friend Dr. Jason Johnson hasn't joined me in a while. He is supposed to set to join me tomorrow at 1, 11, 12, and 1 on Substack at Stand Up with Pete. And now it's time to get to David Rothkopf, whose Substack you should follow. Need to Know, as well as go subscribe to the DSR Network. Listen to all the great podcasts that they have there. It's always a great conversation with David Rothkopf. Today was no exception. Love, love, love this one. Here we go. It's the Rothkopf, my favorite. My mom says still to this day, David Rothkopf is one of my favorites. Why don't you talk to him more? I talk to him as much as I can, as much as he's very, very busy with his Deep State Radio Network. Hello.
Yeah, what's your mom's name?
Mary.
Mary, I have to tell you something. Pete never calls me, and it's a complete lie. He doesn't care. He doesn't care what's going on in my life. He's very self-absorbed.
She knows all that.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to tell my mom something.
No. She knows. Your mother, she's very perceptive, and we love your mother.
While people are joining here on the Substack Live, which is fantastic, what has been going on over at the Deep State Radio Network? You guys continue to crank out
we're growing super fast, on multiple platforms just like you. So we got, we're moving our main platform over to Substack. So people can go and get both Deep State Radio, the DSR Network, and Need to Know, which is my own personal private Substack. And if you get one, the other one's free for the next 2 weeks. And then after that, it'll be, if you get one, the other one will be half price. And we'll do more live and stuff like that. And of course, been rapid growth in YouTube, which is where all the growth is happening for most people, as well as other platforms, Instagram and so forth. And the world's going to hell in a handbasket, and we're in the hell in the handbasket business. So as uncomfortable as that is for us, it sure does give us a lot to talk about. We do, we do daily podcasts with the New Republic. We do our own daily podcasts. We do 5 or 6 others a week. So we probably do 17, 18 podcasts a week.
It's a lot of great content, and it's really blowing up over on the YouTube. If you're not subscribed to the Deep State Radio Network over on YouTube, you should be. I'm surprised with the growth of it because, obviously you're brilliant and great at this, and
good looking.
I was going to say your face, I would think, would hold you back.
Yes, it would.
You're not exactly Hassan Piker. He's very attractive.
Yeah, there are a lot of people out there who've got podcasts, and you've just got to wonder why.
Who is the sexiest? Name a sexy male politician right now, either running or elected. Does that make you uncomfortable? Because I think there's somebody, and I think it matters. Now, I'll name 2.
Okay, let's get this out of your system. You're like the president. The president seems to have gone into a serious homosexual phase.
What do you mean?
He's like, Jackson Dart has beautiful thighs, and and he's like putting out all these White House things where he's naked and the people around him are naked.
Yeah.
And my friend Jen Welch, she does the I've Had It podcast.
Yeah.
She's been doing a whole riff on this, and I think she's 100% right. I think there's some subtext going on here. Maybe, Natalie Harp is not satisfying this every need. And, but I want to hear whose loins you take.
I'll tell you whose loins I desire, or at least politically, if not sexually in more ways. But I will also say that there is like this kind of overt masculinity does start to lean into just full gay. Like there's a point when you're like, I'm such a man's man. I love other men.
Did you see Trump's tribute today to the guy who died in the Village People?
No, but I thought he should tribute him because he's used. Yeah. What did he do?
He said he was a great entertainer and people loved the song, and the song was going nowhere until Trump revived.
He took credit for
revived YMCA.
Oh.
And, he does that dance, which is very masculine. But it's a weird thing. It's a whole weird thing about MAGA, that they are so obsessed with masculinity. And, you've got Stephen Miller, who, of course, is literally 6 foot even of pure testosterone, who is like going after James Tallarico and saying they're not even sure what gender he is. And, you've got all these other people, Mark Wayne Mullen goes on and he takes testosterone supplements on the air and flexes his pecs and says, I'm a real man. And the thing is, they think democracy is for pussies. That's really their general view, and that they think people who worry about rights or, care about other people's feelings have, too much soy in their systems.
That reminds me, I have to do a live read for soy. Folks, sometimes you just don't feel right. And it's because you haven't had your soy supplement every day. Democracy is for pussies should be the name of a new Substack that you co-write.
That's going to be it. Well, let's do it together, Pete.
Democracy.
And it'll help us all adjust, right? It'll help us because when we don't have it anymore, and let's be honest, we don't have it. There's a lot of people out there, including some of your very smart, attractive listeners, who are signing on to this very live chat that think our job is to save democracy in America. But if you saw the Supreme Court decision this week, where they said, no, the rich people, they deserve to be able to give as much money as they want to the Republican Party, and you can't stop them. A little red light or a warning bell needs to go off and say, oh yeah, well, no, we're not a democracy anymore. Because if some oligarch somewhere can write as many checks as he wants, that means that in our system, the people with the most money have the most power. The people with no money don't have power. And I got bad news for you. That's not democracy.
That's your take, at least.
That's my take. Well, you
can argue we've seen democracy in action with these Democratic primaries and these beatnik revolutionary leftist Marxists taking power from New York to.
No, you're so right. There's nothing really more masculine or more enlightened than a corporate centrist Democrat.
That's right.
That is because they can pretend they're Democrats, but they can still get the big checks from the corporations.
You call them corporate centrist Democrats. I call them problem solvers. People like Tom Suozzi.
Tom Suozzi is a great man, and he just put out this call to action from Tom Suozzi, which no one listened to because he's a nobody. But he and one other guy put out a call 2 weeks ago, and they said, I want all the Democrats to take the pledge and say we are capitalists, not socialists. And it's like, well, Tom, let's examine this, shall we? How is capitalism working for most Americans? Now, I guess I'm a capitalist in some ways. I like some aspects of capitalism, but we've morphed into a kind of vulture capitalism in the United States where Elon Musk, newly minted trillionaire, and Peter Thiel and his lunatic partner, Alex Karp, I don't know if you saw his CNBC interview, or Mark Andreessen or Mark Zuckerberg or the Ellisons who own all the media and all this. These people control our lives and our systems, and they're getting deals blessed, and other rich people are getting pardons, and Trump made over $2.4 billion this year that he disclosed, which is 4 times what he made before he was president, and he is cashing in big time. And this form of capitalism, while most people are losing their health care, getting kicked out of the VA, can't afford gasoline, can't afford food, that kind of thing, that's not a functioning system. And some of these people, these guys that you attack for their, socialism, are looking at, say, I don't know, European countries where nobody goes bankrupt for healthcare, where nobody goes bankrupt trying to send their kid to college, or where nobody goes bankrupt trying to send their kid to pre-K, or nobody starves when they get old and they lose their jobs, and where there's a great deal more innovation in the societies because the social safety net allows people to fail, and that means they can experiment. And so these societies are actually working. And Zoran Mamdani and the new Democratic Socialist nominee to be the mayor of Miami, of Washington, and the Democratic Socialist mayor of Seattle, and the new Democratic Socialists that were elected or chosen to be the nominees in the congressional races in New York and yesterday in Colorado or in LA. The reason this is happening is not because there's some, new fad about democratic socialism. It's because our system doesn't work for people. And Donald Trump ran in 2016 saying the system doesn't work. I'll fix it. Then we've had 10 years of that. He was lying. He is fixing it for himself and not for us. And the big issue is the system's rigged. It works for the rich. How do we get people who are actually going to make it work for us? And Zoran Mamdani, and I'll stop here, but, he got a rent freeze. He's filled 180,000 potholes. He's getting pre-K for 2 and 3-year-olds who couldn't afford it. He's putting groceries in places. He's balanced the budget. Crime is down. As he said, call me a socialist. It's not an abstraction. Look at my record. And I think that's the point right now is people just want politicians who are going to stand up and work for them and get it done.
All I want to tell you is who I found sexy.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I missed that. And I really did. I thought Tom Suozzi was the guy.
I was going to say 2 other guys. Then you mentioned Mamdani. There's a real sex appeal to him because he is an attractive guy, but he's got this humor and genuine seeming joy being around, quote, normal people. He likes that. Like he seems to be more comfortable around normal people than at the Aspen Ideas Fest, like you and I. But I was gonna say John Ossoff. Obviously, everybody's talking.
He's the man. He's the man.
But then I also like this guy in Michigan, Abdul Al-Sayed. He's very attractive and very charismatic and kind of manly in a way. And I find him very effective as well. And I think
he's gonna win in the Michigan primary. And, he deserves to win because the other thing people want are people who are going to speak truth.
He's an anti-Semite.
No, he's not.
He's
not. He's against the current government of Israel, which frankly, as a Jew, is the only rational position to hold if you, like Israel, like Jews, like human beings, have any kind of ethical or moral values. And that's the position of Zoran Mamdani. These people.
Hassan Piker.
Well, I would argue that there are people on the left, like there are people on the right, who sometimes say asinine things and go too far in their views. And that's not the point. The point is what we have tried hasn't worked. Let's try something new. I think John Ossoff is a very compelling case. And if he wins in November in Georgia, I call him, and I think I may have done this on your show once before, I call him Purple Mamdani because he's young. If he were nominated to be president and were to win the election in January of 2029 when he took office, I think he'd be 42 years old or 41, about to turn 42. So he'd be our youngest president ever. He has an ease with the way that we communicate today. He is articulate. He has served in the Congress. He will have served as much as in the Senate. He will have served as much as Obama ever did. He's got a bit of that vibe. He's a great communicator. When he said the problem is the Epstein class, everybody instantly got it. And
he's Jewish.
Well, hey, look, there are going to be 4 Jewish candidates for the Democrats.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no, I know that's really hard for you, but some of your best friends are Jews. But Shapiro, Rahm Emanuel, J.B. Pritzker, and John Ossoff are all going to
Who's
run.
the Rahm Emanuel? Who likes that guy?
Well, I think there are a lot of people out there who are somewhat older or who see him as. The Rahm Emanuel was the White House chief of staff. He was the Senate majority whip. He was the mayor of Chicago. He was the ambassador to Japan. House, excuse me. Yeah. And he knows what he's talking about. And, pick your poison. I view the rise of the Democratic Socialists as a movement within a diverse Democratic Party. And, Democrats have got to run the right candidates in the right districts to win, because what we need are majorities. I think on a number of the issues, things are moving in the direction of progressives, and I think that's a good thing. But I don't think it's a threat to, the people who are running on different platforms in Iowa or in, elsewhere in the United States. James Tallarico is running a different campaign in Texas. I just think that the party is evolving because, and again, you and I have talked about this, 2026 and particularly 2028 have another characteristic, which I think is often overlooked. In 2028, the majority of people who go to the polls, the majority of eligible voters, will have been born since 1990. It is a generational shift in American politics, and it therefore is going to see changes because the Zoomers, they have a different attitude. They use different media to communicate.
And let me just cut in here to say this is one of the best things about you because you're old.
Okay. I'm from New Jersey, so
I'm not done. There's so much.
Fuck you.
Fine. Yeah. Fuck me all you want, John Ossoff.
I don't.
Here's the thing. In the game, you're old. You're elderly in the game of analysis, political punditry, and so on. And the problem is a lot of people in your class of pundits, the people that you came up with running Foreign Policy Magazine and all the things that you did working in and around government, all the people that a lot of those people that are your age or in that class, they have not accessed younger people and their thoughts. The thing about Deep State Radio Network and you and your opinions is you are listening to your daughters and those that are younger than that. You are platforming them and you realize the power that they have. And you write through a lens, I think, of an elderly person looking at the views of these young people who should have the power. That's what I like about you and other people in your age range.
Well, what a great compliment coming from Graybeard McBaldy. I feel great that a guy of your obvious advanced decrepitude views me as old. But the reality is this. Age isn't really the deciding factor. It's the ability to evolve and change as the world evolves. No, they can't. But, so fuck them. They can't do it. But other people, I was not a Bernie guy, right? I was not a Bernie guy. But Bernie is in his 80s. He got this. There are a lot of people out, Elizabeth Warren is in her 70s. She got it. There are a bunch of people out there who get it. But having said that, this is not for the older generation. It is time to pass the torch as we did and as it was said when John F. Kennedy became president in 1960.
Yes.
It happens periodically in the United States. Teddy Roosevelt was, who today Trump was, he was opening some Teddy Roosevelt Center and his people are saying Teddy Roosevelt was a manly man and Donald Trump is like Teddy Roosevelt. They're very manly. But Teddy Roosevelt would have kicked Donald Trump in his tiny shriveled up balls the minute he met him because he would have, because he would have hated the guy because had stood for nothing.
Talking about passing the torch, and by the way, I believe people your age invented the torch, and this generation isn't able.
We invented fire, Pete. Wow. Your people invented the torch.
That's right.
But the point is, these transitions happen. Franklin Roosevelt became president in 1932 at a moment of crisis for a variety of reasons, but among them was the fact that he understood how to communicate on the radio. John F. Kennedy became president in 1960 for a number of reasons, but among them was that he was young, he was the pass the torch guy, and he understood how to communicate in the new medium of television. Barack Obama rose up at a moment when we were moving over to a social media environment. Mamdani is the master of using streaming video, and it's not like, when Josh Shapiro goes on the air, and he's got some political hyper consultant, that he's talking to, and he's like trying to be zany, or, hey, let's walk around my living room and we'll see.
That's cringe.
And it's like, it is super cringe, and it's like, that's not working. Mamdani jumps into a swimming pool in his suit, or he gives this killer speech when the Knicks win, or he's fantastic because he's himself. And what people want now, and what you've got to be on streaming media is you got to be authentic.
Yeah.
And you've got to then communicate that A, you know what you're talking about. B, you're willing to stand up and fight. And C, you can actually get shit done. And there are plenty of people out there who are like running these campaigns who are saying, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. But they sound like a political consultant talked to them. And the last thing we want is more of the shit that didn't work. We don't need Chuck Schumer anymore. Sei gesund. He did a great, service to the country over the course of many, many decades. Move on.
Exactly. Okay, exactly. And I was just going to say sei gesund, and then you said it. But the young folks are the ones that are turning out in these primaries. That's why the candidates that are getting elected in these primaries, Democratic primaries, in many ways are. But back to the age thing, a lot of analysts and people, even my age and younger, as young as me even, we use a certain type of language and framing with politics. In one of your latest posts over at Substack, you talk about reinventing the Democratic Party. That's the name of it. But you talk about the super majority agenda, and you write, as I regularly point out, the core policy elements of the progressive agenda are supported by a substantial majority of the American people, including many independents and Republicans. And the problem is that when you look at the policies and the issues and the polling on it, we're so overwhelmingly in agreement. But the problem is old folks and others are still using the same framing and language like moderates and independents and centrists.
And those words just don't mean anything anymore.
That's what you said. They don't mean anything.
It's like you say, oh, the conservative majority on the Supreme Court. They're conservative. They were 5-4 a coin toss on whether the Constitution should matter in their decisions.
Yeah,
there's harassment. There's nothing conservative about those guys. There's Donald Trump blew up the deficit. He's not a fiscally conservative. He's blown up our national defense. He's not a conservative in that traditional sense. Liberals, the words like that, progressive, they don't mean anything anymore, particularly because, and I do a list. People go to the Substack.
Yeah, you need
to know. But I do a list of these things, and you just take them one at a time. Common sense gun reform, common sense tax reform, taxing billionaires, paying for everybody's health care, not some incremental bullshit. Paying for everybody's health care, paying for education so people can get pre-K or people can go to college, protecting the environment. All these things that you think of, oh, well, that's very, AOC stuff. Guess what? 60, 70, 80% of the United States want that. Now, there are a few issues that the Republicans try to use to create this cultural divide. And they say these are the differences between the crazy people on the left and us, because the crazy people want men to, be able to, compete in girls' bowling leagues in high school. And it's like, and it's like, no, they don't. And it's not happening that much. And even if they did, get over it. They should be allowed to do that. The Supreme Court obviously doesn't agree. But the point is, I just don't think these labels matter. I think what matters is you look at the politician in front of you and you say, are they listening? Do they hear what I need? Are they able to actually get it done? Can they win? And if they can, then you support them. And I have to say, in your typically sexist, Gen X fashion, the leader of this movement is not one of the guys you mentioned. It's a woman. And you're overlooking it, but AOC is the past master in the United States of leading this stuff. And I think you need to acknowledge that. I mean, I know you're uncomfortable talking about women on the air.
I acknowledged that. I was saying who I was attracted to, and it was more John Ossoff
and Tom Suozzi. Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see the Tom Suozzi posters behind you there in your little studio.
You have a huge Tom Suozzi. Is that almost?
Yeah, that's great.
But what about? Are you concerned? Are you concerned, David Rothkopf, with that the splintering of the Democratic Party come November, and that the quote centrist, quote moderate, quote corporate Democrats, quote establishment Democrats are going to fearmonger over all of these upstart Marxist communists? And
I'm already seeing it. I'm seeing centrists, people I like. I have friends who are centrists. I was in the Clinton administration, for Christ's sakes. I was there. One of the reasons I'm not a centrist anymore is that I was part of the team, as Deputy Undersecretary of Commerce and later as Acting Undersecretary, advancing neoliberal policies. And then, I have perspective. 35 years later, did those help? No. Is inequality worse? Yes. Did Wall Street benefit? Yes. Did tech bros benefit? Yes. Did average people benefit? No. Were the people who were leading these movements all working on Wall Street now, and they're all like super millionaires, and they have hit the jackpot, and the rest of us have gotten screwed? Yeah. We've got 35 years of perspective. We know this shit doesn't work. And so it's time to stop, blow the whistle, and say, we need to move on to something that's actually going to work for us. But the thing is that this centrist group has existed for a long time, because if you're a corporation, if you're a bank, and you see that America flows from, Democrats to Republicans, you need to have some group of people who are going to protect your regulatory bubble, who are going to protect your tax bracket, who are going to advance your interests. And so what they do is they go to the Democrats and they say, okay, we'll find these people who will take our dollars, and they will hit the brakes and argue that the best path for Democrats to win is incrementalism, even if 60, 70, 80, 90% of the American people, they don't want some bullshit healthcare program. Yeah. So then the last 6 months of life, you can get, an attendant for 30% off. What they want is free healthcare for everybody in America, because that's what every other developed country in the world has.
Those last few months of life seem like just like
that's
cheaper labor.
Look, during the Kamala Harris campaign, and I was a big supporter because she was our last best hope at the time. And I admire Kamala Harris in a lot of ways, but there was a discussion and a debate. They came up with a little incremental healthcare gift for everybody that was about last 6 months of life and being able to be cared for in your home. And it was nice, but that's not what we should be doing. I mean, why are we negotiating with ourselves? Go out and ask for the whole damn law.
If you covered the healthcare reform fights of Obama's first term, you also remember the polling on that, and you remember the politics on it, and you remember the vote on it. A very progressive healthcare reform came out of Nancy Pelosi's House. In the Senate, it was Joe Lieberman of the Connecticut State of Insurance Companies that killed
exactly, and that's all it takes.
That's where public opinion was then in 2010. This is 16 years later, and people have only gotten more in the know, and those reforms have not done nearly enough, obviously, of Obamacare for everybody now having more experience and having more.
People have got to get a grip. because we are about to see a big demographic shift. And the boomers, who are around for a long time, are now shifting into a period where they're going to be maximum strain on the health.
And let me just tell you this. I don't know if you know, there's so many of them.
There's so many of them. And
if you look around, they're everywhere.
I know. It creeps me out. That's why I live out in the country. But the reality is, we as a country have a responsibility. And, we didn't always, but Franklin Delano Roosevelt introduced this really profoundly powerful idea that the government should work for the people, should do things for the people. Prior to that, while that was, kind of the talk we talked, the idea was that the government was smaller and couldn't afford a lot of things and didn't get involved. But in the Great Depression, it had to get involved. And Social Security came out of that, Medicare came out of that, Medicaid came out of that, through Roosevelt, through LBJ, through, progress since then. And, while we were getting it, by the way, the rest of the developed world also got it. They got the message that if you live in a rich society, people shouldn't go hungry. If you live in a rich society, old people shouldn't spend their lives with a loss of dignity and struggling to survive. If you live in a rich society, you should be able to get people educated. Here's a story that happened this week that nobody's paying attention to. The Trump administration is cutting back on the availability of certain kinds of student loans. This is probably
about to get a lot more expensive because you're not going to have
right. One of the colleges that one of my daughters went to is now $100,000 a year. If you go to that college and then you go and spend 2 years at Harvard or Yale or some other graduate school, right? It's another $150,000 a year for that. So you're talking $650,000 a year after taxes. Even if you're going to a big state university, you can be spending many hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they're saying, no, we're not going to lend you money anymore.
You know where my daughter, that's why you know where my daughter is going to college. She just graduated high school last week. You know where she's going, did I tell you?
First of all, Mazel Tov. And secondly, no.
University of Amsterdam. You know what tuition is? Netherlands?
Zero, I would think. But
it's like $5,000.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
But because she's an EU citizen, she gets that. It would be like 16 for an American. So it's still more expensive. It's still expensive for an American. The point is the point about European, much less Asian and other.
Right. And if you're an EU citizen, you can go to university in most countries for free.
Yeah.
And you get healthcare for free.
Yep.
And if you're an American and you happen to be over there and you get sick and you go into a hospital, they take care of you for free, or you pay a very small amount of money because they're civilized fucking societies. Oh my God. And we at this moment, in order to scrape together a few extra pennies to go into the bank accounts of Elon fucking Musk, a trillionaire, we are taking away these programs from veterans, from kids. We're shutting down the Department of Education. We're taking away student loan programs. We're kicking people out of the country. We're ending SNAP. We're cutting back on SNAP. We're cutting back on research into science and technology. We're making it harder for people to come to this country. And all I'm saying is we are weakening ourselves so that these guys make short-term corporate profits that are better, so they make short-term stock awards that are better, so that they can have 5 homes, so that they can have a 300-foot yacht instead of a 200-foot yacht, and tens of millions of Americans are suffering. And this is not a melodrama. This is not a soap opera. This is real life that's happening, and I think people are sick of it. And that's why, frankly, I'm a little bit optimistic that change is coming when people come down the pike. And by the way, there are centrist, high-quality politicians who are coming down the pike who are fighting for these things too. And, the change can happen. Now, will it? The president wants to cheat, so there are plenty of reasons to be skeptical.
the latest on that. He's made no secret of it. Let me just ask you, though. I've got to ask you. This is July 4th is coming up. You've got a piece over at the Daily Beast where you're a regular contributor titled "How Trump Has Become the Anti-George Washington." I want to ask you about that, but first,
wow, you are really on top of things because I wrote that piece at 2:00. Here it is. We're recording this at 5:42. I didn't even know it was up yet.
It's up. I've read it. It's wonderful. I'm a big fan of yours, even though
I'm older.
Even though you're fossilized, I think that's why I am. I think age is a compliment. When I talk about how old you are, which is quite old, I say it with all of the respect.
Do you do any athletic pursuits by any chance?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I went for a hike this morning, then I did chest and
a hike. It
was a hard hike.
That's a big thing.
I went to the gym and I did chest and arms, and then I had a protein shake. What about you? How's your protein?
What's that aerobic napping that you do?
I did do a nap, actually. Well, it's healthy and it's also masculine to nap.
Yeah, no. I very often take a nap and I wake up and I've grown a beard. But I work out. I was just thinking if there was any kind of athletic pursuit you did that you wanted to compete against my elderly self for money.
Oh, see what you're saying.
If you want to put your money where your mouth is.
I will take you on anything except for tennis because I know you're good at tennis. But
except for the stuff I'm good at.
Well, I probably could beat you at tennis too, but I want to be nice.
Yeah. Okay. Come on down.
I mean, I'll play pickleball if you want.
Pickleball. I'm not playing pickleball.
Are you allowed to go out in these temperatures? Kidding you?
No, my keeper I sit with a blanket on my lap and a nice cup of tea, and I just watch your podcast over and over again.
Oh, you do? I figured.
And I'm so old that when I look at you, I feel younger.
Yeah. Is there a cooling center you can get to? Let me know if you need it. We've got a lot of people listening. They could tell because you wrote this piece, How Trump Has Become the Anti-George Washington. But I want to ask you, somebody asked me yesterday, put me on the spot, my friend Eric Siegel, the con law professor, and he said, are you a patriot, Pete? Are you patriotic? And I just, like now, stammered a bit because I don't think I ever really have been a super patriotic person. I love people. I love communities. I love the community that I'm belonging in, many communities that I belong to. And I love a lot of things about our country and the people in it. But what about you? It's 4th of July, and I just feel like people my generation don't have a lot to be proud of in their country. We've got no accountability for all the horrible things that have happened in people my age. I'm 50. And, we haven't had any shared sacrifice, people my age. And I don't know what we've done but kind of destroy ourselves and those coming up after us. And I'm not a particularly, I guess, quote, patriotic guy. But what do you...
Well, we've more or less grown up in the same country. Okay, I'm a few years older than you, but there are still some good things about America, and there's a lot to be proud of. But the best thing about the United States of America is 340 million Americans who are primarily commonsensical. And even if you look at polling data these days, you find the vast majority of them oppose the bad things that are being done in this country. The vast majority of them support the good things that are being done in this country. It looks like a vast majority of them support political change in this country. And we still have a system theoretically can change. And that's a positive thing. I also think, there is a kind of perverse positiveness to having a guy who I describe in this column as the anti-George Washington, who's literally the opposite of George Washington in terms of every single character trait and type of action that they have undertaken. And, there is something about having him as the guy at the 250th anniversary, because Washington, in his farewell address, Benjamin Franklin at the Constitutional Convention, John Adams, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, each of the founders warned that a potential despot would come who flattered the people, who wanted to have the powers of a king, who concentrated power in himself, who was succumbed to foreign advances from foreign governments, who enriched himself. They described to a T Donald Trump. And the reason I brought it up was not to be pedantic about what happened in the 18th century. These guys were flawed people too, but rather to say They who designed the system said this is what'll break it. And they might as well have used the name Donald Trump. And we have a moment right now, as he is flying around in a flying bribe from the people of Qatar, a $400 million plane that we're spending $1 billion on to renovate, that he gets to take home as a fucking door prize as being our worst president, and because it's going to go to his, quote, presidential library. And
you don't approve of him taking that plane and turning it into... You don't like that?
No, I don't like that. But he's flying around going, this is the best plane. And, today he said, by the way, because he always says kind of the wrong thing. He said, this is the best plane ever built. It could never have been built in the United States.
Yeah, I saw you flag that on Blue Sky. Also a great follow on Blue Sky if you're not following, David.
And I was like, really? That's a Boeing aircraft. And aren't you president of the United States? But in any event, or you go down to the mall. I live in Washington, D.C. If you go down to the mall, I don't know if you've gone and seen this state fair thing.
Yeah, I've been paying attention to it.
What an embarrassment.
Yeah, it's real weird. It feels like most of my shows.
It does. Desolate, poorly done, as if done by a bunch of fifth graders. Nobody there. You go on the internet. There's like an old guy walking across the screen because he doesn't know where he is, actually. And that's what this thing is like. It's really the Pete Dominick show of national demonstrations of patriotism.
Also my caliber of celebrity on stage.
You mean Kash Patel's girlfriend?
Oh God, she did her podcast or something?
No, she was one of the singers.
Oh, she's a singer?
No, she's one of the singers.
Well, before you go, I got to ask you in conjunction with this piece, you're talking about, Trump is the anti-George Washington. Of course, there's been obviously a lot of talk and analysis around the Supreme Court's decisions that have come out this week. And this idea of originalism that we've sadly had to be introduced to. I don't know if you're ascribed to yourself as an originalist because you were there.
I was there. Yeah, no, no. Who could possibly have guessed where that joke was coming from, Pete? Yeah.
But I did want to use that joke to get to your takes on the Supreme Court.
There's nothing. There's
more of a king. He's more of a king now.
That's right, and he can fire the head of independent agencies. They're the one. They have the Roberts Court will go down in infamy as having done more to destroy democracy than any group of people in this country. Of course, there are people who are feeding them, big paydays and trips and shit who got them doing it. But Citizens United and Shelby County were terrible decisions. And this week, the campaign finance decision was an extension of Citizens United. And it said money is speech. So the people with more money have more speech, which essentially is saying the rich people ought to pick who our political leaders are. And they have been giving the president more power, as they did in Trump versus USA in 2024. And as they have done this week in the Slaughter decision, which says that he can fire the heads of independent agencies. And as Sonia Sotomayor pointed out, that gives him the powers of a king, which, by the way, George Washington said, I don't want to be the king. Trump today had the White House put out another picture of him with a crown on because he likes the idea of being a king. But, they're also fighting the culture wars. The one thing they're not, though, Pete, and I can say this because I went to high school with James Madison.
You did?
They are not, Summit High School in New Jersey. Most people don't know he
they call him Jimmy.
They are not originalists. And, in the case pertaining to birthright citizenship, which, that the Constitution, the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, is real crystal clear. If you are born here, you're a citizen. There's not qualifying language. It's like a sentence, right? And what happens? They make it a coin flip. It's 5-4 that they support. You can't be an originalist and consider the Constitution unconstitutional. And Clarence Thomas, who's one of the most, malevolent corrupt figures in American history. Clarence Thomas wrote a 91-page dissent against the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution.
You can make an argument against birthright citizenship. A lot of countries don't have it, but you
can't if it's in the fucking Constitution. You want to change the Constitution?
It's
change the Constitution.
You got to change it. Well, they should change the Constitution. Because
really?
A lot of women, I don't know if you knew this, but a lot of pregnant women come here and they give.
Do they?
They give.
How many? How many, Pete?
Last year, it was like as many as trans girls that want to play sports. And
it's a very interesting analogy because
South Africans who are being
subject to white genocide in South Africa.
Number.
Yeah, no, right. Because Peter Thiel, who's a friggin' lunatic, who's Satan is a yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, but here's an interesting fact on this pregnancy tourism thing that they're talking about.
It's called pregnancy tourism, I think.
Right. That's what I just said, Pete. Yeah. You should see somebody take one of those cognitive tests, man, duck, girl, whatever. But we don't keep statistics on it. The best estimates we have are that between a couple of thousand and max 20,000 babies are born in the United States from people from another country who came here and gave birth while they were here. Out of 3.6 million babies born in the U.S. And so your analogy was typically brilliant because it's just like the transgender athletes issue. You know, when that issue came up, I looked and there were exactly 10 cases in the NCAA of transgender athletes that were, you know, in one way or another protested. In other words, these are fake issues that are brought up to create a cultural wedge.
So you're fine with non-white women coming here and giving birth. You're just fine with it?
I am, Pete. I am. Okay. I'm fine with the Constitution of the United States of America. I'm fine with the whole idea that everybody is created equal and has an equal opportunity and should have an equal opportunity. And I know it makes you uncomfortable because you're like a super white guy from the burbs.
Very.
But open your mind. Open up because, you know, there are people like, I don't know, your Lebanese relatives that wouldn't qualify.
My Lebanese relatives, however, and I don't know how you remembered that, did not want to bring Sharia law like today's Muslim electeds.
Yeah. And what about your Sicilian relative? They
definitely came here and gave birth.
They did a lot. They made this country a better place. But in any event, Pete, I know you're joking. And I know that you are a vital voice for getting the word out. And that's why I like to come here and visit with you. And I just want your mom to know your boy, Pete, has grown up real good.
Yeah. They're very kind, very thoughtful and sincere here at the end. I was going to make one more joke and now I won't do it.
Anything I can do to have you make one less joke is a triumph.
I really appreciate you being here. One of the great things about talking to you is I go and catch up on all of your writing that I haven't before I talk to you, and I enjoy it. I learn a lot from the Daily Beast to, of course, the Substack, Need to Know, and now the very popular Deep State Radio YouTube channel, which everybody should.
And also now, as of now, the DSR network on Substack. So you can get all of our podcasts on Substack. And you can get a discount on getting that and Need to Know.
I don't think I follow the DSR network on Substack, so I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, well, you can do it, or I think it may start on the 7th, but it's where it's about to happen. So, and we'll do lots more of this. Hopefully, you and I can do Substack lives.
Yeah, this was fun. But thank you to the almost 200 people that are watching. But also, I do, before you leave, I do have to ask you, what are your thoughts on fireworks? You're a dog person, and so I just have a feeling that you don't like them.
By that, you mean I have a dog rather than resemble a dog. But my dog is fine with it, to be honest with you.
And how are you with fireworks?
I don't like them. That scare me.
Yeah.
No. I don't. Look, I'm very happy. I live just.
Did they have fireworks when you were younger?
The Chinese invented fireworks thousands of years ago.
Oh, Chinese invented them?
Yeah.
Huh.
Long time ago.
Yeah, I don't like them at all. I think they're bad.
I don't like fireworks. I don't like crowds of people.
Yeah, I mean it.
And tonight I will be rooting against the U.S. soccer team.
Are you really?
Because I do not like crowds of people that chant USA, USA.
Are you really rooting against? If I said that again on CNN or somewhere when it was USA Canada hockey earlier this year, and I got in a lot of trouble for that.
Yeah, well, there are only 200 people listening to this, but
that's true. They're all with you.
And honestly, I am actively rooting for France, as I always do. For many years, I've rooted for the French soccer team.
You're a big soccer guy in general?
I love soccer. Yeah.
And why do you root for the French team, national team?
I don't know. Just, I don't know, from 20, 30 years ago, I always liked them and I still like them. And, who knows what the heart really wants? You know what I'm saying?
I don't. I'm certainly confused about your allegiances and loyalties to which national teams you're rooting for, but go Bosnia, I guess. I look forward to your chanting, go Bosnia. A lot of Bosnians here at this Substack Live, by the way, I should mention. In the chat.
Yeah.
These Bosnian flags.
Yeah. Down the street from my house here, there is a Serbian Orthodox Church, and they have every year they have Serb Day, Serb Food Festival or something like that. And all the extra cars for the Serb Food Festival park across the street in the Islamic center of my town. And I'm like, did these people see any of the irony in that? But my dad, who was a Holocaust survivor, served in the U.S. Army in Italy and then in the former Yugoslavia. And so he would take us there, and we actually went when I was a little kid to Bosnia and Herzegovina.
I was going to say, where's the Herzegovina national team?
It's Bosnia and Herzegovina is one.
You don't hear a lot about Herzegovina.
You do. You'll hear about it tonight. The team is called Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Long name for a country.
Yeah, no, it's
puts "and" in their country.
I would bet there are more letters in United States of America than there are in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but I could be wrong.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the game and knowing that you're watching it, and makes it all that much better. Thank you for joining me to talk.
Thank you. And thanks to all your friends who joined. And please join us for more conversations with Pete, but also at the DSR Network and
every day.
And Need to Know. We've got some new Need to Know podcasts coming too. We just did a great one with some people you should have had on. They wrote a book called on How to Be a Dissenter in the U.S. It was a really good book. And
I'll go listen to your interview and then do a better one.
You couldn't help it, Pete. With your youth and vigor, I can barely sit erect for 40 minutes without.
Yeah, you saying youth, vigor, and erect in the final seconds of our conversation has really wrapped it up.
I know I'm in the Swazi. I'm in Swazi class, Swaziland.
I'm Swazi masculinity. David Rothkopf. Thanks for watching, everybody, live. It's always fun. And thank you very, very much, David, for joining us. Bye-bye, everyone.
Peace.
All right, there he goes. Got to let him know that you heard him here on the show. He's on Blue Sky, where he's a monster, and of course on Substack, and listen to the DSR Network. And that's it. That's all I've got for you today. Don't forget to listen or watch on Substack Live, 11, 12, and 1, Friday the 3rd. I should be live with Alison Jaslow, Amanda Nelson, Dr. Jason Johnson. That is it. That is all today. Zip it up and zip it out. Be the change you want to see in the world, and go support John Carroll, everybody. JohnCarroll.org. John has shows coming up in Westfield, Massachusetts. He's going to be in Oregon. He's going to be in Asheville, Tennessee, back in Massachusetts in August, and then in Tennessee in December. Those are the dates on the site now. I hope to make one or more of those dates myself. I'll let you know if I'm going to go, and maybe you can join me. That's it. That's all, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
When the tyrants taunt you in the siren's teeth, you better stand up. Stand up. Let the brave meet the challenge, let the meek weak flee. Oh, you better stand up, stand up. When tired of begging, saying pretty please. That's the time you gotta finally get up on your knees. When you can't see the forest for the burning trees, you got to stand up. Hey, you've been sitting so long, you got the creaky knees, you got to stand up. Stand up. I think you're driving wheels with leaking grease. Boy, you better stand up. Stand up. Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know what's right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting right. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to stand up. That's right. You got to rise up. You got to stand up. You got to stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear when all you hear is a lie. Don't get up off of your butt, get down off of your fence. Even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Boy, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. Alright, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom never go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. Alright, we got to speak up, we got to reach up, and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up, stand up.